Good morning, students. In this class, we will discuss about the demand and demand concepts. So, in every organization, for every product, estimating the demand, analyzing the demand, based on the demand, taking the managerial decision is very important, especially in case of manufacturing concerns. Estimating the demand is very important in order to produce the products to satisfy the desires and wants of the customers in the market. So demand is an economic principle referring to a consumer's desire to purchase a goods and services and willing to pay a price for a specific good or service. Holding all the remaining factors constant, an increase in the price of a good or service will decrease the quantity demanded and vice versa. See, as we discussed in the previous classes, the relationship between the price and the quantity demand of a commodity is always inverse relationship. It means when there is increase in price of the product, there is a decrease in the quantity demand of a commodity. In the other hand, if the price is decreasing, the corresponding quantity demand of a commodity will decrease. So there is a negative relationship between the price and the quantity demand of a commodity when all the remaining determinants of the demand constant. So all the remaining determinants of demand means the price of the related goods, income level of the customer, taste and preferences of the customer, expected prices of the products in the future, expected income level of the consumers in the future, size of the population, distribution of consumers among the various segments, advertisement cost, and any other factors directly or indirectly affecting the demand of a product. So here indirectly, right, in other words, it is also called as a law of demand. So price increasing, the quantity demand of the product will decrease. If the price decreasing, the quantity demand of the product will increase. This is called as a demand concept. So demand can be defined as a quantity of a product an individual is willing to purchase at a specific point of time. It also defined as other things remains the same. So other things remains the same means, so other factors which are directly or indirectly affecting or influencing on the demand or quantity demand of a commodity remains constant. So here demand refers to willingness or effective desire of individuals to buy a product supported by their purchasing power. Here effective desire is a quantity of a commodity or service that is purchased at a given time period at a given price from the market. So here there are certain conditions to satisfy to say that there is a demand for a commodity or the product or the service. So we need to satisfy the different conditions to set that there is a demand for a product or the service in the market. Like here the desire for the specific commodity. Here every or any consumer must have some desire to purchase that product or the service from the consumer's perspective. And here the second one is sufficient sources of funds. Sufficient source of funds. Funds must be available sufficiently, and also willingness to purchase that product, and availability of product. Availability of product at certain price at certain period at a certain time. Certain time. Here, availability of product at a certain price, certain period, at certain time. This is also need to be satisfied. When the product is sufficient, the product is satisfied all these conditions, then we can set that there is a demand for the product from the particular customer or the consumer. That is desire. We should desire to purchase that product for a specific commodity, and desire is not enough. We also have some sufficient sources of funds. We must have some funds in our hand to purchase. For example, the product is available at rupees 100, but we have only 50 rupees in our hand. In this case, we cannot say that there is a demand for the product, because the price of the product is 100 rupees, but available funds is only 50 rupees in our hand. Then we can say that there is no demand for the product from our point of view, because the lack of sufficient funds. And willingness, yes, we have desire, want to purchase, and we also having some sufficient funds. 100 rupees we have in our hand to purchase. We have some capability to purchase the product, but we are not willing to purchase that product. Then in such cases, there is no demand for our product. We must have to satisfy this condition also. We must have some will to purchase that product, and also having some sufficient funds, have to desire to purchase that product. Not only these three also need to be satisfied by the consumer. That is availability of the product at a certain price, certain period, at a certain time. So I required this product today, but the product is not available. Today to purchase at a certain price. Then there is no demand for our product from our point of view. So here the price is not reasonable from my income level point of view. Even there is no demand for our product. And period, I must need to purchase this product by tomorrow, but here the company is not in a position to deliver the product by tomorrow. Then we cannot purchase this product. In that case also, we can say there is no demand for that product from our point of view. So here every commodity must have to satisfy all these conditions. Then only we can say that there is a demand for the product from our point of view. Unless satisfying any one of these condition, we cannot say that there is a demand for the product from our point of view. So here, to say that there is a demand for the product from our point of view, we must have to, or the product must have to satisfy all these conditions to say that there is a demand for the product from our point of view. So here, to determine the demand or to understand the demand, we must have to remember and understand certain points to set that or to define the demand term. So desire, want and demand are different from each other. These are all not the same, different from each other. The quantity demanded is the amount that a customer is willing to purchase. However, the quantity demanded is not always equal to the actual purchase. So this is because the commodity or service may not be available in the required quantity. This is because the commodity or the service may not be available in the required quantity. So demand is always referred to in terms of price, and there is no meaning if it is not expressed in relation to price, because price is one of the determinant of demand which directly influence or affecting the quantity demand of a commodity. And demand is always referred in terms of time period, and there is no meaning if it is not expressed in relation to a time period. So here the price is the most significant factor, one of the most significant factor which directly influence the quantity demand of a commodity. Now let us see how the demand can be understood by using the demand schedule and the curve. So here the demand schedule is a table which is showing the quantity demand of a good or service at a different price levels. In economics, demand schedule is a tabular format which reveals the quantity demand of a product at different prices is said to be the demand schedule. So here demand schedule is nothing but, in economics, it is the table which shows the quantity demand of a product or the service at a different price levels. For example, here price of the product in terms of rupees, quantity demand of the product in terms of units. So here the tabular form or the table which shows these two variables, price of the product and demand of the product, is said to be the demand schedule. For example, the price of the product at 10 rupees, the quantity demand of the product is at 50 units. If the price is increased to 20, the quantity demand of the product will decrease to 40. If the price increases to 30, the quantity demand of the product decreases to 30. Price of the product increases to 40, the demand for the product will decrease to 20. Means that how the price is increasing, proportionately the quantity demand of the product will decrease. This is what called the law of demand. This is called law of demand. The price of the product is increasing, proportionately the quantity demand of the commodity will decrease or fall or declines when other things remains constant. There is no changes in other determinants of the demand, then this law of demand holds good. So here demand schedule, this is called demand schedule. Demand schedule is the tabular format which shows the price of the product and the quantity demand of a commodity in one tabular form is known as demand schedule. And coming to the demand curve, the demand curve is a graphical representation depicting the relationship between a commodity's different price levels and the quantities which consumers are willing to buy. The curve can be derived from the demand schedule. The curve which is derived from the given schedule, which is essentially a table view of the price and quantity that comprise the demand curve. So demand curve is graphical representation which is depicting the relationship between the price and also the demand of the product, which is taken from the demand schedule. Let us see how the demand curve will flows by using this table. So demand curve is a graphical representation of the relationship between the price and the quantity demand of a commodity. So here it is demand curve. Now we'll take the two axes to explain the demand curve. X-axis, this is x-axis and y-axis. X-axis reveals quantity of a product and y-axis reveals the price of a commodity. price of the product, demand of the product. This is called demand schedule. 10, 50, 20, 40, 30, 30, 40, 20, 50, 10. The same we can show on in the graph. So I'm taking two axes, x-axis and y-axis. X-axis reveals the quantity demand of a commodity. Y-axis reveals the price of a product. Now I'm taking the scale 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. Here 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Right? Here these scalings are taken from the range of the price and the quantity demanded in terms of units in the demand schedule. Now let us plot the points in the graph based on the demand schedule. The price of the product is 10 rupees, where the quantity demand of a product is at 50 rupees. Here it is 50 rupees. When the price is increased to 20, the quantity demand of a product is decreased to 40. So this is right. Here 30 rupees at 30 rupees, the quantity demand of the product is at 30. When it is 40 rupees, the quantity demand is decreased to 20 rupees. When the price is increased to 50, the quantity demand of the product is decreased to 10 rupees. After plotting the points in the graph, now we need to connect these points in order to arrive the demand curve. So here this is our demand curve. Here DD is the demand curve which is floating from left to right downwards. Left to right downwards. How the price is increasing, the quantity demand of the product will decrease. It is decreasing. How the price is increasing, the quantity demand of the product is decreasing. This is how we are showing the demand schedule and the demand curve. DD is the demand curve which is floating from left to right downward, and OX is a axis which reveals the quantity demand of a commodity. OY is an axis which reveals the price of the product. Here from the demand schedule we have plotted all the points in the graph. After connecting the points, we arrived one curve which is called as a demand curve. This is the curve which is called demand curve. Here in the explanation we are showing this as DD. So here we can also interpret the same, that is here OX and OY axis reveals the quantity and price of the product respectively. When the price of the product is at OP1, the quantity demand of the product is at OQ1. If the price is increased to OP2, quantity is decreased to OQ2. Here price is increased to OP3, the quantity demand of the product is decreased to OQ3. Here it is increased to OP4, it is decreased to OQ4, and it is increased to OP5, it is decreased to OQ5. In this way, we will explain the demand schedule and the demand curve. What is demand schedule? Demand schedule is the tabular format which shows the prices of the product and the corresponding quantity demand of a commodity. How the price is changing at different levels, how the price is changes different levels, and the corresponding changes in quantity demand of the product. The table which is showing called as demand schedule, whereas the demand curve is The graphical representation of the demand schedule, the data available in the demand schedule, is known as demand curve. After plotting these values in the graph, we arrive one curve which is called as demand curve. This is how we will explain the demand schedule and the curve. And coming to the determinants of demand and the demand function. So here determinants of the demand are the factors. So I think this is clear. What is demand schedule and demand curve? Demand schedule is the tabular format which which reveals all the information about the prices at different levels, quantity demand at different levels with the corresponding prices. Demand curve is the graphical representation of the demand schedule, is known as demand curve. Now let us see determinants of demand. Determinants of demand. What are the determinants of demand? What are the different factors? What are the different factors that are used to determine the demand? Determinants of demand are the factors that influence directly or indirectly the decision of the customers or the consumers to purchase a commodity or service. I am repeating, determinants of demand are the factors that are directly or indirectly that influence the decision of the consumer whether to purchase or postpone the purchase or not to purchase the commodity or the service. It is essential for the organization to understand the relationship between the demand and its each determinant to analyze and to estimate the individual and market demand for a commodity or service. It is not only the organizations, wherever you go, whether it is small scale organization, medium scale organization or large scale organization, whatever it is, here every organization must have to understand the determinants of the demand. So what are the different factors that are directly influencing or indirectly influencing the consumer to take the decision on purchase in order to analyze? Right? The quantity demanded for a commodity or the service is influenced by various factors such as price of the product, consumer's income level, taste and preferences of the customer, growth of the population, and prices of the related goods, and expected prices of the related goods in the future, expected prices of the current product in the future, expected income level of the consumers in the future, and all other factors. And many factors are there which are directly or indirectly influencing the purchasing decision of the consumer is said to be the determinants of demand. So there are certain determinants of demand, like as I said, price of the commodity, price of the commodity, income level of customers or consumers, price of related goods, price of related goods, taste and preferences of consumers, expected prices of expected price of goods in the future, expected price of related goods in the future, size of population, and others. And others. And here, they are the determinants of various determinants of the demand, that is price of the product or commodity, income level of consumers, price of related goods or substitute goods, price of related or substitute goods, taste and preferences of consumers. And here these are the main determinants of the demand at present: price of the commodity, income level of the consumers, price of related goods or substitute goods, taste and preferences of consumers. And here for these four in the future, that is expected price of the commodity in the future, expected income level of the consumers in the future, expected price of substituted goods in the future, expected taste and preferences of the consumers in the future, and also the size of population and advertisement cost, and other factors or other determinants. These are all the factors or the determinants directly or indirectly influence the quantity demand of a commodity or a product. So here all these factors are very important to consider at the time of determining the demand of a product. Let us see one by one how these determinants of the demand influence the demand of the commodity. The first one is price of the product or price of the commodity. This is one of the most important factor affecting amount demanded is the price of the commodity or the quantity demand of a commodity. There is a direct relationship between the price and the demand of a commodity. This is the most significant factor or the determinant which change the quantity demand of a product. And the amount of commodity demanded at a particular price is more properly called price demand. The relationship between the price and the quantity demand is called the law of demand. The relationship between the price and the quantity demand of a commodity is known as law of demand. It is not only the existing price but also the expected change in price which affect demand. So here in general there is a negative relationship between the price of the product and the quantity demand of a commodity. Let us take an example here. If the price is, as we have seen in the demand curve and demand schedule, if the price is at 10 rupees, the quantity demand of the product, let us take 50 units. If the price is increasing to 20 rupees, the quantity demand of the product is decreased to 40. And 30 rupees, at 30 rupees it is decreased to 30 rupees. If the price is decreased to again 20, the quantity may increase. Means here when there is a changes in the price of the product, there is a corresponding change in quantity demand of the product. That is negative changes, negative relationship, we can say negative relationship. Up to 10, 20, 30, there is increases in the quantity price of the product when the quantity demand of the product is decreasing 50 to 40, 40 to 30. When the price is decreased to 20, again the quantity demand of the product is increased to 40. Means here where there is a changes in price, there should be a corresponding changes in quantity demand of a commodity. That is negative changes, negative relationship between the price and the quantity demand of a commodity, when other remaining determinants will be constant. And the second one is income level of consumers. Income level of consumers. Here the relationship between the income level of consumers and the quantity demand of the product is always a positive relationship. There is a positive relationship between income level of consumers and the quantity demand of a product or commodity. Here, how the income of the consumers is increasing, corresponding quantity demand of the product also will increase. If there is decreases in the quantity income level of the consumer, there is a decrease in the quantity demand of a commodity. Means that there is a positive relationship between the income level of the consumer and the quantity demand of a commodity, unlike price of the commodity. So there is a positive relationship between income level of the consumers and the quantity demand of a commodity. How the income level of the consumers are increasing, there is a increases in the quantity demand of a commodity and vice versa. And the third one is prices of related good or substitute good. So here the quantity demand of the commodity is also affecting the price of a related or the substitute good. There are two types of related goods, that is substitute goods or complementary goods. The demand for a commodity is also affecting by the changes in prices of the related goods or substitute goods or complementary goods. So these related goods are two types, that is substitute goods and the second one is complementary goods. Substitute goods which can replace each other in use. For example, tea and coffee. For example, tea and coffee. So these two are substitute goods. Here instead of tea we can also take coffee. Instead of coffee we can also take tea. The good which replace each other in use is said to be the substitute goods. Instead of using this product, we may also use this in order to satisfy our desire and want. Let us take one more example. Colgate, close-up. Colgate and close-up. These two are the substitute goods. Take one more example. Laptop, computer. Laptop, computer means monitor and laptop. These two are the substitute goods. Means here the prices of the tea, will influence the demand of the substitute good coffee. The price of coffee will make changes in the demand of the corresponding tea quantity demand. Means in case of substitute good, there is a positive relationship between the price and quantity. If the price of the commodity, if the price of the tea is increasing, here the coffee quantity demand will increase. There is a positive relationship between the substitute good price and the quantity demand of a commodity. But whereas in case of complementary goods are those which are jointly demanded, such as pen and ink. If you want to purchase a pen, you can also need to purchase ink. In such cases, complementary goods have opposite relationship between price of one commodity and the amount demanded for the another. For example, if you want to purchase a computer, if you want to install a computer, purchase the computer, you need to purchase monitor, keyboard, CPU and mouse. So they are the parts we need to purchase in order to assemble as a computer. Then only it is possible to use as computer. So monitor, keyboard, CPU, mouse, these are all called as complementary goods. These are all called as complementary goods. Correct. Read that pen. Finish. So here, these are all called complementary goods. Monitor, keyboard, CPU, mouse. Then only it is possible to use as a computer. So if any changes in prices of the monitor, there is a change in the quantity demand of keyboard, CPU, mouse. Increasing the price of monitor, automatically there is a decrease in the quantity demand of keyboard, CPU and mouse. There is a negative relationship. There is a negative relationship or inverse relationship between the complementary goods. If one spare part price is increasing, the remaining parts quantity demanded will decrease. This is what called prices of related goods or substitute goods or complementary goods. This is also one of the most important determinant of demand to analyze. And take one more example, pen and ink. If you want to use a pen, you need to purchase a ink. So here, if the price of pen is increasing, if the price of pen increase, automatically there is a change in quantity demand of ink, decrease in the quantity demand of ink. There is a negative relationship between the pen price and ink quantity demand. Next, the third one is taste and preferences of customers. So here the taste and preferences of customers is also one of the most important determinant of demand. Means nothing but habits, fashions, taste, desires, wants, likes, needs. So all these also affecting the demand of a product. If you are habituated to purchase the product, if the taste is like very much, then you can purchase. If you are not like to purchase, then automatically there is no demand for a commodity. So here taste and preferences of consumers is also one of the most important determinant of demand. I like very much sweets. Automatically there is a demand for sweets at particular time. I don't like. There is no demand for sweets at that particular time. So if I want to purchase, there is a demand. If I don't want to purchase, there is no demand for that particular product. Apart from these four, there are different determinants like expected price of goods in the future. So here the price of the product at present is not only affecting the demand, also the expected price of the goods in the future is also affecting the demand of a quantity demand of a commodity. For example, here during at present the price of the product is very high. Let us take an example, gold. Here nowadays the price of the gold has been increasing gradually, right? 35 to 40, 40 to 45, 45 to almost 50,000. If I am expecting that the price of the gold will decrease in the next month, I may not purchase the gold at a present in this month, because I will wait till the next month till reduce the price of the gold to purchase. It means that in this case there is no demand for the gold at present from my point of view, because I am changing my purchasing decision I am changing my purchasing decision in order to purchase the gold in the next month. So this is also one of the important determinant, expected price of the goods in the future. Or else, in another hand, if I expected that the price of the gold is still increasing, going to increase in the next month also, then I may purchase the gold at present. So here the purchasing decisions will change based on the expected price of goods in the future. And also the next one, expected price of related goods in the future. If the related goods prices in the futures may decrease, then I may postpone my purchasing decision to the next month or to the future. If there is no changes in the prices of the products in the future, I may purchase at present. So these expected prices of the related good is also one of the important determinant which changes the decisions of purchasing at particular product. Next, size of the population. More the population in size, more the quantity demand of a commodity. Less the size of the population, less the demand for a commodity. For example, here there are different areas: Hyderabad, Warangal, Khammam, and some rural area. So in Hyderabad city, let us take an example, 5 lakh people are living. In Warangal, 2 lakh people are living. In Khammam, 1 lakh people are living. Here in rural area, let us take only 50,000 people. In remote area, 10,000 people only living. So these are all different segments of markets, different market segments. Hyderabad, Warangal, Khammam, rural areas and remote areas. So there is a difference between one area to another area in terms of population. In terms of population. Here, if you want to determine the demand for your product in Hyderabad, the quantity demand of your product in Hyderabad is more compared to Warangal. Here, compared to Warangal, in Khammam there is less demand. Comparing to Khammam, rural areas is very less. In comparing to rural areas, the remote area is very less. That is due to the size of population. How the size of population is increasing, the quantity demand for a commodity will also increase. If the size of the population is decreased, the quantity demand for a commodity will also decrease. This is how the size of population will influencing the quantity demand of a commodity. Next, advertisement cost. Advertisement is also one of the important factor which influence the quantity demand of a commodity. So here there is a positive relationship between the advertisement cost and the quantity demand of a commodity. There is a positive relationship. It means that how you are increasing the budget of advertisement, then proportionately the quantity demand of a commodity will also be increased. There is a decreasing in the budget of advertisement, corresponding quantity demand of a commodity also will decrease. This is why the nowadays most of the multinational companies are investing more and more funds are investing on the advertisement to create awareness. If there is no awareness about your product in the market at the customer, there is no demand for our commodity. Though you are producing qualitative product with a reasonable price, with a suitable all the features, with the label, design, attractive product. So whatever the feature it is in your product, if there is no awareness with the customers about your product in the market, there is no demand for your product. There is no demand for your product. That is why here you need to invest more and more on advertisement in order to create awareness in the market in order to get more and more demand for your commodity. So this is very important factor that directly influencing or affecting the demand of a commodity. And others, apart from these determinants of demand, there are different types of factors or the determinants that are directly or indirectly influencing the demand of a commodity. That is climate and weather. The climate of an area and the weather prevailing, they has a decisive effect on consumers' demand. In cold areas, woolen cloth is demanded. During the hot summer days, ice cream is very much in demand. On the rainy day, ice cream is not so much demanded. Means based on the climate changes, based on the weather changes, the demand for the commodity will also increases. Means that here seasonal changes. During the summer, some products may have more quantity demand. During the winter, some other products have more demand for commodities. During the winter, some other products, rainy season, some other products, means seasonal products. These are all called as seasonal products. So when there is a season, there is a demand for the product. When there is no season, there is no demand for the product. There is a positive relationship between the seasonal changes and the quantity demand of a commodity. And wealth, the amount demanded of a commodity is also affected by the amount of wealth as well as its distribution. The wealthier are the people, higher is the demand for a normal commodities. If wealth is more equally distributed, the demand for necessaries and comforts is also more. If the consumer is wealthy, then automatically there is a more demand for the commodities. Means higher the wealth, then the quantity demand of a commodity will also increase. There is a positive relationship between the wealth and demand for a commodities. Then the next one is government policy. So here government policy affects the demand for the commodities through taxation. So taxing a commodity increases its price and the demand goes down. Similarly, financial help from the government increases the demand for a commodity while lowering its price. Whenever the government is taking the decision to give some schemes, to provide some scheme, to give some help to the society in order to providing some financial help, automatically there is a demand for the commodity in the market. Let us take an example. During the this COVID-19 period, pandemic situation, here Telangana state government has given 1500 rupees per month for poor people. So here this 1500 rupees may be used for purchasing the necessities. So if there is no 1500 rupees in the hands of the people, there is no demand for the products in the market. So here government policies also may make changes in the quantity demand of a commodity. State of business. The next one is state of business. The level of demand for different commodities also depends on the business conditions in the country. If the country is passing through the boom conditions, there will be a market increase in demand. On the other hand, the level of demand goes down during the depression. During the depression situation, the quantity demand for a commodity will decrease. During the boom conditions, the quantity demand for a commodity will increase. So they are the different determinants of demand. What are they? Let us see what are the different determinants that we have discussed until now respect to the determinants of demand. That is price of the commodity, income level of the consumers, price of related goods or the substitute goods, taste and preferences of consumers, expected prices of goods in the future, expected price of related goods in the future, size of population, advertisement cost, and others in terms of wealth, weather, climatic changes, government policies, and state of the business. So these are all about the determinants of demand. This is about the determinants of the demand. This is also one of the important concept to understand the demand. Next, let us see the demand function. So demand function is also one of the concept of demand. Demand function. Demand function. Demand function is a mathematical relationship between the quantity demand of a commodity and its determinants. It is a mathematical relationship between the determinants of the demand and the quantity demand of a commodity. Demand function is a function which describes, here what is the definition of demand function? Demand function, it is a mathematical relationship between quantity demand of a commodity and its determinants. Mathematical relationship between what? Quantity demand and its determinants is said to be demand function. It is a function which describes a relationship between one variable and its determinants. Here one variable means that is quantity demand of a commodity is a one variable which is a dependent variable, and its determinants. What are the determinants of demand? The determinants of the demand are price of the product, income level of the consumer, taste and preferences of consumers, expected prices of the goods in the future, and prices of the related goods, and all other determinants of the commodity. Charging. Thus, the demand function for a commodity the demand function for a good relates to the quantity of a good which consumers demand during a given period to the factors which influence the demand. The demand function for a good relates to the quantity of good which consumers demand during a given period to the factors which influence the demand. So here, as I said, the mathematical relationship, demand function is a mathematical relationship between quantity demand and its determinants. How this function will write? Let us see now how the function will write in mathematical manner. That is QD equal F of here whatever the determinants of the demand we discussed until now, all the determinants of demand will come under this demand function. The first one is price of the product. The first letter of price of the product is P. Then the second determinant is income level of consumer, I. And the third one is price of related goods, PR. Then the fourth one is taste and preferences of customer, P and P. And the next one is expected prices of the product or commodity in the future. Then next one is expected income level of the consumers in the future. Then next one is expected prices of related goods, expected taste and preferences of the customer, size of the population, advertisement, distribution of consumers, and others. All these are called as determinants of the demand. Using the determinants of demand, we have written the demand function. So here the relationship between these factors, these determinants, and the quantity demand is said to be the demand function, where QD is a quantity demand, F is the functional relationship. QD is quantity demand of a commodity. F is the functional relationship. P is the price of the product, income level of consumers, price of related good, taste and preferences, expected prices of the product in the future, expected income level of the consumers in the future, expected prices of related goods, expected taste and preferences of the customers in the future, size of the population, advertisement cost, distribution of consumers in among various segments, and others. All these are different determinants of demand. All these determinants already we have discussed in the previous concept, that is called as determinants of demand. So by using all the determinants, we need to write a mathematical expression is known as demand function. This is how we need to write the demand function. You need to explain each and every determinant in demand function concept. For example, P is the price of the product. So what is the relationship between the price of the product and quantity demand of the product? Because the demand function itself explains relationship between the determinants of demand and the quantity demand of a commodity. Quantity demand of a commodity is always a dependent variable, and all the determinants of the demand is always a independent variable. Based on these independent variables or determinants of demand, the quantity demand of a commodity will change. Let us see how this relates to relating with the quantity demand. Price of the product, there is a positive relationship between price of the product and quantity demand of the product. Increase in the price of the product, decrease in the quantity demand of a commodity, and vice versa. Income level of consumers, there is a positive relationship between quantity demand and the income level of consumers. Increase in income level of consumers, increase in quantity demand of a commodity, and vice versa. Here price of the product and quantity demand is inverse relationship. Increase in price, decrease in quantity demand, decrease in price, increase in quantity demand. There is a negative or inverse relationship between price and quantity demand. Income level and quantity demand, positive relationship between these two. Price of the related goods and quantity of demand, there is a positive relationship. Price of one product will increase, the quantity demand of another product will increase, and vice versa. There is a positive relationship between taste and preferences and quantity demand, positive relationship. If the taste and preferences increasing of the customers or the consumers, there is an increase in quantity demand of a commodity, and vice versa. Expected prices of the commodity, expected income level of the consumers, expected prices of related goods, expected taste and preferences of consumers, size of the population, advertisement cost, distribution of consumers, and others. All these are relates with the quantity demand of a commodity in order to explain the function called demand function.